Hey there, this is Earnest Mann coming to you from America's Pacific Northwest, reaching out to the world with insights and opinions you just won't hear anywhere else. Thank you for being here. If you're someone who's considering relocating because the proverbial grass is greener somewhere else, you might want to give what I have to say a listen, because just like most things I talk about, you're going to hear some information and advice that's very different about this, and why jumping ship from where you currently are is probably a bad idea. And the old adage comes to mind: the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Right off the bat, I want you to understand that what I'm saying is meant in very broad terms, and the specific circumstances of your life I know nothing about. So it is entirely possible that relocating could be a very good idea for you. But by and large, when large demographics are concerned, it's often a really bad idea. Here's some thoughts as to why. One of the key things that so many people are not aware of is the negative effect on your physical and or mental health. As moving, especially if it's a long distance major move, is statistically in the top 10 of the most stressful things people do in their lives. Many companies whose business model is basically psychopathic will close a particular branch store or operation, and if the employees are very lucky, offer to relocate them to another location, which may be across town, but often is across adjacent states or even across the country. There is absolutely no regard for the necessity and often well-established bonds of family and friends. As I said, these actions have no true regard for the importance of the bonds of family and friends, since bonding with humans is not something psychopaths can really relate to. And at their core, all corporate policies are psychopathic, because their company policies are written by and for the benefit of psychopathic CEOs. Now, with that in mind, do you really think that's going to change by moving to a new city and state? When it comes right down to it, the workforce has been completely homogenized. That's my pleasant way of saying, if you're a wage slave, no matter where you go, you're still a wage slave. Do you remember just a few years ago when there was a big exodus from California to Texas? Many big business and social media personalities went to Texas. Joe Rogan was one of them. And of course, that convinced the herd of common folk to jump ship from California to Texas. But there was one huge part of that decision that apparently those folks hadn't thought through. Despite all the reasons they gave for leaving, many of which were quite legitimate, apparently those people hadn't considered the idea that, what if they ended up actually hating fucking Texas? I'm not talking about the physical climate. Having lived in Austin, Texas for several years, I feel I can speak a thing or two about it. I'm talking about the cultural climate. Let me tell you, I'm not bad-mouthing Texans. There is good and bad people all over the place. But Texas is definitely a culture. And here's a newsflash: all cultures are not good for all people. Being a biker is a culture, but you sure as hell won't see Ernest strapping on a leather vest, wearing leather chaps, and riding a damn Harley Davidson. Could be any time soon. Capiche? The life reality is that for most people, taking the last of their very valuable resources to relocate to a place, especially if there are no family or friends, is a real gamble. Because if things really go sideways, you can be in serious trouble. Rich people like Joe Rogan don't really have such concerns. All of their life's eggs are not in one proverbial basket. If for whatever reason they don't like the place, they can either go somewhere else or return to where they came from. It's simply a learning experience because they're rich. For most people, that's certainly not the case. And if things don't work out, they can be devastating. And having lived and relocated to many cities and smaller towns across America, I can tell you that because I've certainly had my share of relocation devastation. Luckily, I was able to survive and get the hell out of those places, but only because I had family and friends, to which I am eternally grateful. Which brings me to the next point in all of this. Family and friends, because you don't gain a truly deep appreciation for family and friends until your ass is seriously up against the wall. When the place you relocated to didn't exactly turn out to be the kind of place you envisioned it would be. Because you were too busy being like a damn excited racehorse, gnashing at the bit to get there, despite all of the practical and intelligent advice given to you by family or friends not to do so. So for that single reason alone, if you do have seriously good or loving relationships with family or friends, you should consider staying right the hell where you are. And here's why. Economies, whether national or on a state level, go up and down. The financial and Wall Street criminals refer to it as market volatility. I translate it as this: which group of working class people is being economically raped the worst at any particular state at any particular time? You see, in broad general terms, if you do have any nice city in a relatively economically stable state, it won't remain so for long. Because in these modern times, just about any demographic information is available to anyone, and often in real time. Because of this, that relatively nice and stable city I just mentioned will be overrun with hordes of people wanting that very lifestyle for themselves. But the irony is that as soon as the hordes arrive, in the thousands or even tens of thousands, in 2 to 5 years, that place is inevitably transformed into the same kind of shithole that those people were trying to escape from in the first place. 1970s Las Vegas, Nevada is a perfect example of this, and I have watched this process take place over and over and over and over again. So in the end, what I'm saying is this: unless you have some very special circumstances or situation, you can of course reach out to me with your particulars. My very best advice is stay the hell where you are, especially if you have family and friends, because things can be replaced, but people can't. Well, I hope you found this informative or at least entertaining. If you have any questions or just want to reach out to me, you can do so via my website link in the description below. And please consider subscribing, as it makes me feel at least a little bit cared about in this crazy, often depressingly self-centered world. Until next time, this is Ernest, and it's all I've got for today.